Greetings! It's Monday, September the 15th, 2025. I'm Thomas Caldwell of the Aurelian Column. On the road. Well, there's only one story to really talk about today. And, of course, that is the demise of Mr. Charlie Kirk and the upcoming funeral for the man. Condolences, of course, to his family and his widow, but I'm not going to go into all that now. I'm going to just talk about the case and not only the opportunity that's on the horizon, but the danger. Quite a bit of danger that no one's talking about and many people might not even be picking up on. First of all, at this point, it has to be pointed out that it doesn't really matter who killed him or why. The way this culture now works with information is such that everybody has their ideas, everybody has their opinions, and nobody is going to believe anything but their own narrative that they chose to embrace. We saw this with the Kennedy assassination, of course, 9/11, all sorts of things that no matter what happens, people are going to want to believe what they want to believe before they ever caught the perpetrator, whose name I will not speak because I don't want to give the man that sort of dignity, or boy, which is more appropriate. People had all sorts of theories as to who did it and why. Totally meaningless because there was no evidence of anything initially. Mr. Kirk was shot from a distance with a rifle. And right away, everybody was coming up with their own theories. So I'm not even going to go into that because it doesn't matter. What matters is the fallout. What matters is where his organization is going to be going. What matters is the way the United States political system is going to go, as well as that of other countries. I was shocked to find out there were massive turnouts. I wouldn't call them protests, but I would call them demonstrations on his behalf in London. They're saying, well, depending on who you talk to, anywhere from 1 million, 100,000 or something like, somewhere in between that. That's quite a significant number of people. They had protests, again, not really protests, but they weren't happy, in South Korea, in Spain, and in New Zealand, of all places. I saw some footage of the Maori down there doing their dance that they do, that we've all seen on occasion, on his behalf. This is a global thing going on right now. How much of it is spontaneous and how much of it is being manipulated is not known. But I assure you it's a combination of the two. Now, Mr. Kirk was a very talented man, very talented young man. Every time I saw his debates on videos that his organization put out, I was nothing but impressed. He could pull facts out of his head. He was able to organize and build a multi-million-dollar, many-million-dollar organization, setting up chapters in high schools and colleges around the United States. According to Turning Point USA, they have had more than 35,000 inquiries up to just a day or two ago of people that want to set up new chapters throughout universities and also high schools in the United States, I would assume, but I'll bet you there are chapters that want to get set up all over the world. This is a reaction to the insanity that has been embraced for some decades now. And I'm glad I feel quite vindicated today because I've been saying for a long time that transgenderism is insanity. It's a fad. It's a cult. It's nuts. And at some point, something was going to break. So at this point, the worm has turned, and these poor people who have embraced that will probably get the treatment they need, but the children who have been biologically mutilated over the last many years, well, the doctors responsible and the parents that made it happen, they have to be held to account. But let me talk to you about the danger that you have here. Now, Turning Point USA has a lot of great stuff going for it. But one of the concerns I have is the overtly Christian flavor it has. Now, nothing's wrong with Christianity. I've met some great Christians in my time, but Mr. Kirk's group has always had a very literal interpretation of the Bible. And it needs to be pointed out to the Turning Point people that there are people of other religions in the United States that also have the same values. There are people that are Jews, Muslims, other types of Christians that don't fall into the one that seems to be perpetrated by Turning Point, and also pagans, indigenous religions, American Indians, people of the Afro-Caribbean traditions. A lot of these are very moral, decent people. Most of them don't believe in abortion either, which you'd probably find interesting. But the problem is that if this takes on a religious tone or a crusade, it's liable to go into a bad direction that Mr. Kirk never would have gone along with. I never met the man. I never went to any of his rallies. It was just something that never happened. I did follow his stuff somewhat. But it has to be pointed out that the United States has many belief systems, and a lot of them aren't Christian, or the type of Christianity that many of Mr. Kirk's followers believe in. Sure, rebuilding the family, having children, getting rid of bigotry against white people. And I need to point out that Turning Point USA has people in it of all ethnicities that you can imagine. No, this is a wake-up call, and hopefully it's going to go into a very good area. But remember, when there are massive crowds whipped into emotional frenzy, there's a way of things going south if they're not directed in the right place. This is a concern. Getting too emotional about something is never good. Never good. The other thing I'd like to point out, which I've harped on more than a few times in the last couple of years, are all those people that love talking about Civil War 2.0 as if it's a software release or a game. One thing I've learned over time is most Americans really don't know too much about their history, let alone the graphic details of how nasty the world can be. In fact, that's the reason this fellow was able to go off and take the life of Mr. Kirk. And now he's going to be realizing the hard way that there are consequences to actions in the real world. It's not a computer game. It's not a theory. It's real. I want to ask these people openly, what form would a civil war take in this day and age? Really? Think we're all going to dress up in cool uniforms and go out and kill all the bad guys? Do you really think the rest of the world would sit by and just watch when the U.S. has so many enemies, many of whom have been earned, and many are just into the power game on a global scale? No, 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 no. It's a terrible thing that happened to Mr. Kirk. Hopefully a lot of good will come out of it in some form. But when things like this happen, it's important to take a deep breath and take a deep reality check. There are many that are talking about this being the first shot of the Civil War, or Mr. Kirk is the John Brown that will lead to a civil war, as if that's going to be fun. for someone who has been a foreign correspondent, has been to places and seen turmoil, seen this sort of thing firsthand, I can assure you, you don't want it here. I don't think Americans would stand for it, or should say sit for it, because most Americans sit behind their computers, make memes, and watch videos while eating salty snacks and drinking beer and then yelling out loud when they don't like something. But I would urge people to follow what's going on. I think it's refreshing that there's going to be a massive outdoor funeral for Mr. Kirk the day before the autumn equinox, which is a time of renewal. Just remember that there are thousands of such tragedies that happen every day, just you don't hear about them. And those are the ones that need our attention. Those are the ones we really have to work to stop. Americans are being desensitized to violence, but they're also being enraged by it. We saw that in Charlotte, North Carolina on a light rail train when a beautiful young white girl was murdered with a dispassion of an animal that took her life. And I do say animal. I do not find that being to be of much value whatsoever, in spite of what a lot of people like to think and a lot of excuses. The one thing that is certain about this is nothing's going to remain the same in the United States. And as President Trump said, for years and years and years, the liberals, the left-wingers, the Marxists have been poking at the bear, kicking at the bear, spitting at the bear, and now they're shooting the bear, and the bear is going to eat them alive. So it is time to clean house in this country, but it's important to make sure it's done neatly and orderly. You don't want to burn down the house just to get rid of the cockroaches. One more thing I would like to sign off with here. I've had some comments coming back that when I always end the broadcast, I say something must be destroyed, and they think that's hate speech. Oh, wonderful. Well, I get that from a guy named Cato the Elder, who back in the day, a senator in Rome, always ended his speech with the Latin explaining that Carthage must be destroyed. In other words, there's something out there we got to get rid of. And every speech he gave, he always ended it with that, and eventually it happened. I'm not taking sides with that, but the Romans felt it was needed to get rid of Carthage, and they did. And whether it was right or wrong is not for me to say. That was more than a couple thousand years ago. Now, I'm not comparing myself with Cato the Elder, but I do have the sentiment that when there's something that needs to be done away with in this country, in this world, you need to do away with it. Accommodating evil will just allow it to grow, like cancer, like weeds, like anything that takes life and leaves the world a little less beautiful. Think about it. The world is what we make it, so let's make it. That's it for today on the road. If you appreciate my work, please like, subscribe, and share. Share with your friends and share with your enemies. And if they're the types of enemies that need to be terrified, let's hope you can terrify them. I can be reached at feedback@aureliancolumn.com. That's feedback@aureliancolumn.com. I'm up on X. My handle there is MICCAMPEN. That's MICCAMPEN. This podcast originates at Substack. My handle there is aureliancolumn.substack.com. Until we meet again, be good, be safe, be vigilant, and remember, clown world, the deep state, and all the insanity that has made this world such a mess must be destroyed. From the road, good day.